Who really knows which lawyer you should choose? Other lawyers know. They've invited Gary C. Johnson to teach his method of judo law in Denver, Atlanta, New Orleans, and across the nation. Gary used judo law to set the record for the largest personal injury verdict in the history of Kentucky. Now, which lawyer should you choose? The choice is clear. Gary C. Johnson. Dial pound hurt. This is an advertisement.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays and welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend Gary C. Johnson.
Hey, guys and gals, how you doing? Isn't it wonderful to be alive? And you're not fighting naturally or anything of that nature. Okay? I want to shout out to a lady in Prestonsburg, and her name is Flora Johnson. Flora Johnson wrote this little book along with Ken Martin Isaacs, okay. And it's got some really neat little poems in it. And Flora sent me a copy of it. And so I finally got around to reading the poems, and they are really, really good. Flora has taught school in junior and middle schools, I guess, in Floyd County for over 36 years. She's lived here in Eastern Kentucky, went to Alice Lloyd College. She is a true credit to the community. Flora, I'm shouting out to you. And you watched this show evidently years ago and heard about us talking about the dash, and you wrote a poem about the dash, and I'm going to read the poem to our readers because you did such a wonderful job on the dash. Are you ready, Keith?
I am ready.
The dash. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted the first time, the date of her birth, and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. Now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. Thank you, Flora Johnson. You're a wonderful lady.
Gary, that was really, really good, and I am absolutely amazed at the talent that it takes to be able to sit down and put that into words.
Well, one of the things that she put in this book was that she never expected any of her poems to be read or anyone to read them. And eventually someone must have talked her into putting them in a book, and they are extraordinary. Flora, if you're watching, you have extreme talent. You have left something wonderful for the world with the book that you've written here with Mr. Isaacs, and I want to thank you. And if any of you really want this book, I have figured out finally how to order it. And just call my office and let one of my people know, and I'll figure out how to get you one of the books because it's worth having, and it's a tribute to Flora Johnson. So Flora, if you're watching, thank you for being who you are, and thank you for sharing part of your life with us. The other book I want to talk about, since I'm talking about books, is my friend Hazel Little. Called the office and said, Gary's got a new book he's reading from, and I know it, and I want one of them. So Hazel Little, you're right. And I have ordered you a copy of this book, The Three Questions. I've also ordered you a copy of this book that you love to read so much. And Hazel, you are a dear friend, and your daughter Pam, when these come in, I will give them to her. By the way, Pam Osborne, her daughter, has been my court reporter ever since I've been practicing law. So shout out to Hazel Little for calling the office and saying, I know he's got another book he's reading and I want my copy of it. So Hazel, thank you for watching and thank you for being my friend. Isn't it a wonderful world to have friends?
You know, Gary, you start this program week after week talking about the unique people that we have in our lives and in this region, and you talk about their talents. And the more that you talk about it, seems like the more that I discover it, the more that I run into people, that I communicate with people, and I'm saying this is exactly what Gary's talking about. Right now, you once again have proven your fact that we have genius all around us, and we have unique abilities around us. We just got to open our eyes and look for it.
You know, you flounder through life not being very smart. That's been my problem. And it's not till just really recently that I've come to really realize the significance of how different we are on the outside and how different with our talents and things we are on the inside in our brain. Because the only judgment we can make about others is based upon what's in our own brain, right? We don't have any other frame of reference. And so we need to stop and really think, well, I'm trying to make this judgment based upon my brain, but how different did the good Lord make their brain? What talents did the good Lord give them? What insights did the good Lord give them, or ability to have insights that I don't have? Understanding that their body is, everybody's body around me is so different than mine, why not their brain? So that's why we should not judge. More than anything else in the world, we should not judge another person simply because we don't know how their brain is made up. We don't have a clue. We don't know how different their brain is from our brain. We know their body is different. We can see it, but we can't see the brain. And that is really important. And it took me, honestly, I fumbled through life being stupid, not realizing that one simple concept. I'm sharing it with you. Again, my friends, I just want you to think.
You know, I got to tell you, when you first pointed this out to me on the radio program, it dawned on me. We can look at an individual and say, they can't bench press 200 pounds because we can see their physical makeup. But yet, when it comes to the mental makeup, we say things like, why don't they get it? Why don't they understand? Why can't they see what I'm trying to show them? We never consider what you're talking about, that the mental makeup is just as different as the physical makeup.
Well, I first started getting a glimmer of this years ago, and it didn't really come home to me until later. But a friend of mine judged people and what they could accomplish based upon what he had accomplished and where he would come from and what he had achieved. And he was always condemning people that couldn't play sports. He was condemning in his mind, and when he would talk about it, it's not that it was bad, it was just, he was talking about people that didn't go to school or finish school. And it dawned on me, he was judging them based upon his abilities that the good Lord gave him, not judging them upon the abilities that the good Lord gave these other people. Now, the good Lord gave these other people some ability, but it was probably really different than the abilities my friend had. Therefore, he should not have felt like they were less than maybe he was, or they achieved less than what they should have. People achieve basically what they can within the abilities the good Lord gave them. We all have the same ability to love. I think he made that the same in all of us. He made the ability to feel sympathy and compassion and empathy. He made that, I think, basically the same in all of us. But once you leave those, I think the variety is as different in our brains as it is in our bodies on the outside. So therefore, my friends, my lesson to you this week, before you get ready to judge someone on what they did or didn't do, or what they accomplished or didn't accomplish, remember, they are an individual. They were made exactly the way the good Lord wanted them to be. They have exactly what the good Lord gave them inside their brain and their body on the outside. Therefore, you have no right, none, zilch, to judge them because you don't know. You don't know what's going on. Okay?
No truer statement has ever been made than what you just said. You really have no idea.
You just don't know. Let's take a break and we'll come right back.
Well, what a great opening. And you know what? That's the reason Gary and I can't play the guitar and piano, because we didn't get that gift from the good Lord.
That's right.
So stay with us. We'll be back doing what we can do, which is this program, Simply the Law, after this message.
People are asking, what is Judo Law? Judo is a martial art that uses the opponent's strength to defeat them by not opposing it directly. Gary C. Johnson created a method of practicing law based on that principle. It worked so well he named it Judo Law. To see the results, go to GaryCJohnson.com. To have Gary and his team of judo lawyers go to work for you, dial #HURT. This is an advertisement.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Hazel wanted the book and talked about the book club. I've got to tell all of our friends, if you come to my office, I have a bookshelf, and all of the books are books that Gary has read, and he will tell me stories about them. And kind of like Hazel, I immediately go out and I get the book because I want to try to read. And then this opening segment that Gary was doing on We All Have Different Talents, I had one book and I was just struggling with it, and you remember this. I said, Gary, I've read this book for 5 years. I'm trying to understand it. And I said, yet you told me you had someone else that read it and understood it in 6 months. How'd that happen? And you said, well, they were smarter than you.
Well,
He was brutally honest. He said, they just got it.
the good Lord made them different than you.
Good Lord made them a little smarter, and they got it in 6 months, and I had to study it for 5 years before I started getting a little bit of the book, but I hung in there. But that was exactly what you were saying in the beginning.
Since we got that book there, the 3 questions, pull it up there, Keith, and read the 3 questions to the folks. If they need to ask themselves. It's a really complicated book, my friends.
It is.
And really make you think.
It does. That's the other thing. This is the book, The 3 Questions, and I guess it's Don Miguel Ruiz, but the 3 questions are very good questions. The first question is, me, who is me? I guess, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'll find it for you.
Yeah, let's see.
Who am I?
Who am I? Yeah, grammatically I was wrong. Who am I is the first question. The second question, what is love? And
No.
what is real?
He read this book, you know.
Well, why do you think it took me 5 years on the other book? I'm butchering this
The
one.
second question is what is real?
What is real?
And the third question is what is love?
Okay, so I had it close.
And the other day when I talked to you on the show about loving your body, that's where it came from. And why?
The whole thing I like about this book, though, is it makes you think. And after I read the first chapter, Who Am I called Gary on the cell phone and I was like, oh, you've done it to me now. I've spent the whole weekend trying to figure it out. And he said, don't figure it out, just read it and think about it.
That's right.
But it does
Make you think.
makes you ask questions.
There's some good stuff in the book if you want to think, if you want to question, if you want to figure out, really, who am I? Who really am I? Am I the person that I want to appear to the world to be? Or am I a different person inside than what I portray to the world? How did I end up being what I am? What influences in my life brought me here? What was I taught about what beliefs I should have that I now have as beliefs that came from others? Actually, who am I? Interesting question.
That chapter did an illustration about a white canvas and that your life is a painting and that all of the people around you are artists and they're putting paint on the canvas until they paint the picture of who you are. And as I was reading that, it makes you think back throughout your life about what you just said. Who influenced you?
Who am I?
And
how did I end up who I am? Yeah.
But you know, the great thing about it, at the end of the chapter, it said you can always repaint the canvas. That was the thing that I think you're asking us to do, is to think.
I'm asking each of you to think, my friends, I want you to think. I want you to question. I want you to say why. I want you to say, what proof do you have? I want you to say to yourself, how did I come to have the beliefs I have? Are they really beliefs that I formulated on my own? Or are they beliefs and things that others gave to me that told me I had to believe those things?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, who are you? I want you to think about that.
And Gary, the other thing about the chapter was, if you have someone in your life that believes differently than you or sees things differently, the book says to ask them, how did you come to that conclusion? That's interesting. And to sit and talk as opposed to having anger over the fact that you don't agree.
You turn on the TV and you've got different views from different human beings on everything. Now you can choose to adopt some of those views of some of those people and reject the others. That's a choice. What I'm saying to you, my friends, is I want you to do, formulate your own beliefs. Formulate your own views. Take all of the information, think it through, exercise the old brain. If you exercise it enough, it'll keep you from getting dementia. Okay? Exercise the brain and think. And it is amazing the things that will change in your life as you look around you and the things you will observe as you look around you. If you start thinking, why is that person saying what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Do they really believe what they're saying? Now let's assume they truly believe what they're saying. What is the end result of what they're saying that's making them believe what they say? And is it really true what they're saying? Or have they convinced themselves that what they're saying is this way, that they have formed a belief that it's this way, so that it gets them the end result that they want to have. Therefore, if you go to the end result of what's being said, and what you're watching, and what's going on, to see what's going to happen with all of these things that's being said, you can probably find the truth by working your way backwards from where is this going, and disregard basically what's being said. That doesn't mean people are lying when they say things. They may have convinced themselves that things are the truth. But that is the old chatterbox convincing them to do what it wants done so that that end result will happen. I hope I made a little bit of sense to my friends. And again, all I want you to do is think.
And
put that thing in gear before you put this thing in gear. Put this one in gear before this one's in gear, okay?
And the great thing about it, after I read the first chapter, I called Gary and I said, here's my conclusion. Am I right or am I wrong? And Gary said, it doesn't matter. You came to a conclusion and you thought about it, and that was what you were trying to teach me.
That's all that matters. Let's take our second break and we'll be right back.
I got to tell you, the book is good. It's called The Three Questions, and it's Don Miguel Ruiz. If you'd like to get it, it will give you something to think about. We'll be back with the end of our program. This is Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson right after this. Eastern Kentucky, southern West Virginia, and southwest Virginia. It can be a tough territory to reach when it comes to marketing. We can help. We can also help you find your identification. And we have plenty of services to do it and a lot of experience behind us, over 37 years. In fact, we've either booked or sold nearly $70 million in advertising in this region. You need a new voice, a new idea, a new concept? Casebold Marketing. We're ready to go to work for you today. Our motto is nothing happens until you make it happen. So let's get started today. Welcome back into Simply the Law. Gary, on that last segment when you were talking about thinking, I want to add this to our friends. When you start thinking and you start taking ownership and you start looking at all the things around you in the world that you've been pointing out to us, this place is a whole lot more fun. This life is a whole lot more fun.
You'll enjoy your dash a whole lot more. I promise you, my friends. Let's go to the computer. There's some stuff I want to talk to my friends about. There's the number in case you need to reach us. And I was going backwards. We have a Lexington office for any of our friends in Eastern Kentucky that end up getting hurt in Lexington. Give us a call. I have 4 lawyers there. www.garycjohnson.com. In general, please make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. Again, just last week, a client came in my office that had been in a wreck, that needed their underinsurance. They had it, but they didn't have very much when they could have afforded more. Get your underinsurance, make sure it's the same amount as you have on your liability policy. Credit cards. Coming into that time of the year, folks, where we want to buy everything for everybody, right? Beware of credit cards, because after the first of the year, the depression will set in. A high credit limit does not mean you can afford it. Okay?
Ouch.
Minimum payment. This rarely reduces your debt. All you're doing is paying interest. And if you want to get yourself in bankruptcy really quick, my friends, go to the credit card and start using them over the holidays. An introductory cheap interest rate never lasts long, and the rate will be in the high teens or low 20s in a very short period of time. That's a gimmick to get you to take the card so they can hit you later once you run up a bunch of money with a high interest rate. Don't do it. Credit cards can change your interest rate or credit limit at will. They have the right, not fine print. Annual fees can be added even though you got the card at the beginning with no annual fee. They reserve the right to stick on an annual fee at their convenience. And guess what? They always do. The grace period for late payment can be changed and expose you to unexpected late fees. These fees range from $30 to $100. Think about that. Their right to do this is in the fine print of the contract they send you. Paying off your credit card every month can trigger annual fees. In other words, you say, I pay it off every month, so it don't cost me anything. Yep, they'll give you an annual fee when you start doing that. And again, my friends, beware of credit cards.
So here comes the lesson now. You just, the break before, you said go to the end result, work it back through. So here you come up with the tip to us. Every one of us right now in the mail probably get 2 or 3 pieces of this. Credit limit, no annual fees, all you have to do is call in and sign or cash this check. We get those every day, and you're going to the end result that this is a major money-making business, that they know people are going to charge more than they can afford, and then here comes the 29.9% interest rate.
You go to a department store and they ask you when you're checking out if you have their credit card, Macy's, whoever it is. And you say no. They say, oh, by the way, if you apply for one, now as you're paying, you get a 20% discount. And we'll even put it on the card for you. Guess what? You're hooked then. You got the card. You got their card, which you're going to be using other places, which they get a little bit of. My wife Anita has come to the convention that people that are in retail are not in the business of selling goods. They're in the finance business. Because that's where I think they probably, according to Anita, make their real money, is getting you to charge those things on their credit card. Then they get interest, and they keep getting a little profit from that sale they made you every month until it's paid off. So everything is a gimmick, my friend. You can get the card, that's fine, but if you get it, pay it off every month. Take that 20% discount, cut the card up, or whatever. You need credit cards when you go to a hotel, so I'm not saying don't have a credit card. I'm just saying don't use the credit card any more than you can afford. And it is so tempting at Christmas. I've got to get this person a gift. I have to get them a gift. Oh, I'll put it on my credit card. I heard a woman one time say, I'm going to buy this and it only costs $100 a month. Duh. How many months? It costs a whole lot more than $100 a month if you finance it. So, my friends, I know you need to use your credit cards. That's okay. But try to keep it at a minimum and try to not fall for the gimmicks that they send you in the mail every time you go to the post office. There's some new company trying to get you to take a credit card. They sent me one the other day with a really high limit debit card, and all I had to do was call them and activate it. I cut it up. I did not want their debit card because in the fine print it said, okay, by the way, you got to send me like $5,000 or something to have on deposit to use the debit card. But
and you're telling everybody this because not only do you want them to have happy holidays, you want them to have a happy 2020.
No joke.
My friend, thank you. Great information. The books, just in case, The 3 Questions by Don Miguel Ruiz and Windows on the World. It's original poems by Flora Johnson and also Martin Isaacs, Ken Martin Isaacs, if you'd like to have the books. My friend, thank you so much. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. Thank you for tuning in to Simply the Law. We look forward to seeing you again next week, same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.